has done to the Republican Party. The last time this Senate seat was up for election was just 2014, just 3 years ago. And the Republican won with 97% of the vote. The Democrats could not get a candidate on the ballot. They couldn't talk anyone into running for Senate in Alabama. So if you're wondering how far we have come, this is how far we have come.
Yeah, this is going to be, I kept thinking about this today, that this is going to be really a titanic result for both parties. Regardless of who wins, it would be a huge freaking deal if Doug Jones wins. It would be a huge freaking deal if Roy Moore wins. But even before we've got those final results, the fact that it is this tight, that it's still too close to call with now 72% of the vote in, that itself is a really big deal in terms of understanding American politics at this point in our lives.
And one more history point. This is how long ago it's been since we've had a Senate race this close in Alabama between a Democrat and Republican. 1986 was the last time it was this close, and I want to get the exact number. The winner got 50.3% of the vote. The loser got 49.7% of the vote. And I'm masking this a little bit because the winner, who just squeaked it out, was Richard Shelby, and he won as a Democrat. That's how right. He entered the Senate in 1986, was as a Democrat, changed parties 8 years later. When they're this close, historically, the Democrat wins. So we will see.
And the last time we had a major statewide race won by a Democrat in Alabama, it was 11 years ago, 2006, it was a lieutenant governor's race, where the Democrat who won beat Luther Strange, who's the guy whose Senate seat was just vacated in order to make space for this special election tonight. It's one of those things that's super fun to cover, but also tonight super suspenseful.
Yeah, we're making history as we sit here. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Well, as Alabama continues to count votes, here is where things stand at this hour. The race is officially too close to call, with Roy Moore at 50%, Doug Jones at 48%. 77% of the vote is in. We're going to bring in NBC's Steve Kornacki. Steve, what are you watching?
Look, it's a 21,000 vote lead right now for Roy Moore. That's what Jones has to make up. So if Jones is going to make it up, let me show you where he's got to get it right now. A couple places we're watching very closely. About 80% of the vote is in Madison County. This is Huntsville. This is the the county with the second highest share of college degrees in the state. This is a place the Jones campaign targeted. They're probably going to get some more of a margin out of there. Here's the biggie, though. Birmingham, the suburbs around it, the largest county in the state, the single biggest vote-producing part of the state. Jones is cleaning up here. There's still a third of the vote to come in. He can get a lot more votes out of Jefferson County. And the third place to be looking here, Mobile, only a third of the vote in. Again, Jones cleaning up here. And also, we add a fourth one here. There's still vote out, about a quarter of the vote in Montgomery. So 4 big places there on the map. Again, if you're Jones, you're trying to make up 21,000 votes right now. Now, if you're Moore and you still want to pull this thing out, you've got scattered precincts in the rural parts of the state that are still coming in, so we can get some votes there. But there's 2 biggies for Moore, the Republican, right now. Number 1, this is Shelby County. This is the suburbs outside Birmingham. This is a place here. Look, Donald Trump got 73% of the vote in this county in 2016, so Moore is running well behind that. A lot of college degrees here. It'll still be a Moore win, but this is the problem for Moore right now. He's trying to hold off Jones, who has those big counties left where he's going to get a lot of numbers. He needs a place like Shelby to come through big. It normally does for Republicans. He's only getting 58%. This is a terrible number for a Republican in Shelby County. If this is what he's getting, is that going to be enough to hold off Jones? One other place on the map then for Moore to look. It is Baldwin County, the Eastern Shore. This is outside Mobile. Okay, again, about a quarter of the vote left here. Moore wants to probably be at about 65% or better, really north of 65%. Your Trump got 77% in this county last year. So again, 63. Hey, he's going to win it. He's going to get votes out of here. But with what Jones is going to get out of these other places, is that going to be enough? Look, we'll see when the votes come in. I'll say this, though. We talked for weeks leading up to this about what it would take for a Democrat to win Alabama. Not just black support, but heavy black turnout. We have evidence a very strong black turnout in the heavily black parts of the state. Then the question of, in those metro areas around the state, can you get those traditionally Republican voters to break away from the party? We are seeing that breakage occur across the state. So look, the basic ingredients are there. And by the way, the margin now down to 13,000. The basic ingredients are there. This is a narrow race. It's a question of, is it going to be just enough or is it going to be just short for Democrats? But again, this is sort of, if they're ever going to win one, Lawrence, probably be in the next hour or two.
Steve, as I'm staring at your map, we're watching Jones closing the gap as you speak. And so with what you're looking at there, who has richer uncounted vote territories there as they await this vote count?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, there's basically three big areas here left. And I'm just seeing, I'm doing this to see if the numbers have changed while I'm up here. It's still a third in Mobile. You still got a third left this is the biggest source of votes in the state. Now, the one thing is this Jones percent of the vote might come down a little bit as the last precincts come in here, the final third come in. So he may not win at the same clip here. And again, let's see if anything more, a few more came in here in Madison County. These are the biggest areas left. You know, there's a lot of Democratic turf here. I'm trying to avoid giving you an exact answer because it really looks about even. But again, I'm struck by Moore running, you know, probably not where he wants to be. And if that holds, if he's only getting 58% in Shelby, again, I thought he probably needed about 62, 63 in a county like Shelby.
Steve, just yell over to us whenever you get something new to report. We're going to be coming back to you. Steve Kornacki, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. We're joined now from Alabama, from Birmingham, Alabama, by Joyce Vance. She's a professor of law at the University of Alabama, a former federal prosecutor in Alabama. And here in New York, Joy Reid is with us. Joyce Vance, being on the ground there in Alabama, what is your sense of where we stand tonight?
Well, this race is obviously still too close to call, but it looks like the Jones campaign is close to meeting its targets. Heavy turnout we're hearing in many of the urban areas. In Birmingham, many boxes are coming in at 40 to 50% of the population went out and voted. That's compared to the Secretary of State's estimate that only 25% of the population would vote. And that would be very good news for the Jones campaign if it holds up. Also, it looks like he's performing ahead of schedule with white Republican voters, particularly women. That was another segment of the vote that he targeted. Still too early to call, but as these last few big outposts that are Democratic come in, we'll get a better idea of where we're headed.
Joy Reid, as I said to Rachel at the beginning of the show, the last time this seat was up for election was 2014. The Republican Jeff Sessions got 97% of the vote, and the Democrats couldn't find anyone to run against him. So in the age of Trump, the Republicans in Senate races in Alabama have lost 47% of the vote right off the top.
Yeah, and you know, people forget that, you know, even in terms of statewide elections, Alabama did not become a solidly Republican state until 2010. You know, it took a long time for the sort of backlash from the civil rights movement to completely wash over these southern states. States like Alabama, until Obama came along, you still had people who would, at the local level, would vote for Democrats. There wasn't a complete aversion to voting for Democrats. You just had people like, to the point you made, Richard Shelby, switch sides, and Alabama's been voting Republican for president since, you know, '68. They went for Wallace, but after that, they've been Republican. So it's a weird state. And what's interesting, over the course of the night, what I've been hearing from people in Alabama has been concern over voter suppression, over people showing up at precincts in places like Montgomery County, having only 1 or 2 people there to check IDs, and it being really overwhelming long lines. That said, to me, black turnout has to be really high, because when black turnout is high, that's when you get more suppression activity.
And suppression, we mean registered voters showing up at the poll, they don't have the ID. We're going to go back to Steve Kornacki, see what's new on the board. Steve Kornacki, what do you have?
Yeah, well, actually, nothing new. We're still at 515, 501, about a 14,000 vote gap. I'll give you one here that we're keeping a very close eye on, though. Jefferson County, again, this is the biggest source of votes outstanding, Mobile and Jefferson right now. To give you some sense of this, though, when Roy Moore was on the ballot in this state in 2012, and he nearly lost that race for Chief Justice, he got 37% of the vote in this county. Again, right now, we got to see where these precincts are exactly. I think that number is going to tick up a little bit. But again, if he's running below that level here in Jefferson, that means there's a lot more votes for Jones to get out of here. So it can